even if it's nothing new to hear Hatikva sung in the Soviet Union by Israeli artists. The song, and the hope for the future which it represents, still brings a small tremor to the heart and a tear to the eye. This tremor is the link between the Israeli artists who came to the Soviet Union under the aegis of the Joint and Azriel for the high holidays. For the Jews, this rendition of Hatikva is more than just a national anthem. It is a means for bringing Soviet Jews closer to world Jewry, for bringing Moscow closer to Jerusalem. The 65 emissaries from Israel who are about to leave for the Soviet Union under the aegis of the Joint and Azriel to prepare for the high holidays there, first take a course in Hebrew teaching methods. Operation Heart to Heart is a joint venture by the JDC in New York and Azriel in Tel Aviv, based on successful joint activities in the past. Within the framework of Operation Heart to Heart, the emissaries and holiday packages from Israel will arrive at some 30 different cities in the Soviet Union to help organize the high Jewish holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchat Torah, as well as Bar Mitzvah and Bat Mitzvah ceremonies.
לפתוח את השיעור בחזרה על מה שנלמד יום קודם, להשתמש בו באופן קצת יותר טבעי.
The emissaries bring their personal experience and acquired knowledge to Moscow, from which they disperse across the continent to their various destinations, in some of which no Israeli emissary has ever visited before. The Joint Distribution Committee emissary from Israel arrives in Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia. The city and its sites are well known to him, for his father was one of the leaders of its Jewish congregation.
I
was born here in this area, in the synagogue courtyard, to the family of the chief rabbi and spiritual leader of Georgia. Here in this house, I was nurtured on the love of Eretz Yisrael and the Torah. Here I was educated according to the precepts of Judaism. The arrival of the emissary to Georgia signals a revival and reorganization of Jewish congregational life around the synagogue in Tbilisi. Not all of the synagogues in Soviet cities have remained in Jewish service. Some of them, like this one in Kishinev, have fallen into disrepair and ruins. The walls of the great synagogue of Lvov have been turned into paving stones in the city's Jewish quarter, which remains a reminder of past times. In the heart of Odessa, the magnificent synagogue has been turned into a gymnasium. Another synagogue in Lvov served until not long ago as a timber warehouse. Immaculately crafted paintings, which were above the reach of the stacks of wood, still survive. Now only traces of a glorious past remain, and the stories of Lvov's splendid congregation told by Boris, a native of the city, to Israeli singer Esti Katz.
Before the war, we've got here a very big Jewish society. More than 50% of the inhabitants here were Jewish people. So we have here a very interesting and very old synagogue. Now you can see what now we have.
Only one wall.
Only one wall. And you can see that even the high, we wasn't allowed to build the synagogues higher than church.
Stille Licht und stille Augen, Lippen frumme Stille, fahr die stille Licht gebeugen, schäfschet sie at viele.
The stories stir a chord in the heart of Sabra Esti Katz as well.
Koim die Licht nur Herren, Gott is nicht mein Bescherter, west mir ihm bescheren.
The Jewish past, which has been uprooted, shows itself in every corner of Lvov, as in other Soviet cities. Here in Lvov, the street through the ghetto is once again called the Old Street of the Jews. In Vilna, there's a street named after the Vilna Gaon, who lived here. The greatest paradox of all can be found in Odessa, where Sholem Aleichem Street, named after the Jewish writer, intersects a street named after the oppressor of the Jews, Bogdan Khmelnytsky. The spirit of Khmelnytsky reappears from time to time today in Soviet cities, in the form of anti-Semitic slogans scrawled on walls, such as these in Kishinev that read, "Death to the Zionists." But nevertheless, Jews once again raise their heads high. Synagogues that have been reopened, such as this one in Donetsk, serve as the venue for the holiday celebrations. My friends, we begin the holiday celebration. We say next year in Jerusalem, but it isn't so. We reside here. We must feel ourselves as Jews. I wish to thank the Jews of Donetsk for giving me and my wife the special privilege of being with them on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, and of reopening the synagogue in Donetsk, which has been closed these 60 years and more. In Donetsk, as in other Soviet cities to which the emissaries from Israel have come, the heart-to-heart operation organized by the Joint Distribution Committee and Azriel for the high holidays gives concrete expression to unity and togetherness.
This program was conceived about a year ago when Sylvia Hassenfeld and I visited Moscow, and we saw that all that the young Jews had to celebrate were the streets. And we decided then that we were going to create a life cycle of the Jewish calendar and to create programs for each particular occasion.
The first holiday operation mounted by the JDC and Azriel consisted of the public Passover Seders, held for the first time in Soviet history, with the participation of over 12,000 guests. The Sukkot and high holiday operations came later.
Сейчас переверните, соедините эти вместе, их потрясите. Все. Ашер, Кетшону, Бемитсвойсов, Векиимону, Вегиону, Лизман, Азе.
Such a large gathering of Jews, until not long ago strictly prohibited by Soviet law, is now becoming a part of daily Jewish life in the Soviet Union. Word of this joyous Jewish revival, such as that of the high holidays, is spreading to every corner of the globe. The reports include the story of the Sukkot, which were sent by the Joint Distribution Committee and Azriel, and erected in many cities, such as Moscow, Tbilisi, Odessa, and Lvov. Dates from Israel are handed out at the Lvov Sukkah by guests and joint emissaries who've arrived from Israel.
אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להישב בסוכה. שלום חברים, שלום חברים, שלום, שלום. להתראות, להתראות, שלום, שלום.
לפני סוכות
We prepared the sukkah before the holiday. We invited the children to help us, and there was great excitement. Their parents came, old folks came, everyone wept. People said they'd never seen such a thing. Even those in their 60s and 70s said it was the first time they'd ever seen a sukkah. They went inside and wept. Their excitement and wonder were unbounded. Sukkot ends with Simchat Torah, upon which, according to Jewish tradition, the yearly recital of the entire Torah ends, and it is taken on a circuit of the synagogue. Many young people join the Hakafot ceremony, which is for them a first encounter with their Judaism, with Jewish tradition, and with Israeli song and dance. A mixture of Jewish and Israeli tradition, given expression by the youth of Odessa celebrating Simchat Torah for the first time in their lives. We never expected to see a holiday such as we're witnessing today. Even 2 months ago, it didn't seem realistic. I saw old people crying. They also say they never expected to be able to see our strong youth, these girls and boys, dancing happily on this holiday of ours. To my regret, I'm 43, and I'm seeing how it's done and how beautiful it is for the first time.
И я, к сожалению, мне 43 года, и я тоже первый раз увидел, как это все делается, как это все красиво.
These remarks are made in Odessa, once a city and a mother in Israel, but now with little left of its Jewish heritage. There are different revolutionaries today who stroll along Potyomkin stairs, symbol of the start of the October Revolution. Here in Odessa, following World War I, the joint established the Ort Trade School in this building. In this building, on an adjacent street, the Jewish national poet Chaim Nachman Bialik lived and wrote. And Jewish leader Zev Jabotinsky pursued his journalistic and polemical labors here. Today the spot is run down and neglected, but perhaps that's what inspires for a moment the Israeli singer who's come here, Hanan Yovel. Traces of its Jewish life and heritage can be found even today in many corners of the city and its cultural life. A movie being filmed on the street deals with a Jewish subject. So many Jews having packed their bags already. The Jewish klezmer parts are being played by Gentiles.
I do believe in a better tomorrow. We shall return to Zion, to our land. Live peaceful life there, no hatred, no sorrow. Nation to nation extend.
The songs of longing for Zion, sung by the men and women of the various aliyot who set out from Odessa's port, have long been forgotten. But during this holiday season, they are brought back to the city and port by the Israeli singer Hanan Yovel. Meanwhile, the port of Odessa is locked to Jews wishing to immigrate to Israel. Meanwhile, one can only sing of the longing for Zion against the background of the port, which is a chapter in the history of the Jews who left Russia before the revolution and dispersed to the four corners of the earth. The song brought by this singer from Israel is a sign of the revival of the Hebrew language in the Soviet Union, which is a first step towards an acquaintance with the nation and its culture. This Hebrew teacher, an emissary of the Joint Distribution Committee and Azriel, is one of 350 teachers from Israel who've arrived in the Soviet Union over the past year. Where do you live? On which street? I need to know Hebrew. I am studying Hebrew. It is our language. I want to be in Israel, in Petach Tikva. The Hebrew lessons are often reminiscent of the traditional cheder, the old institution revived in the synagogues where Hebrew is being taught. Are the kolchoz and the kibbutz the same thing? Hebrew is a difficult language, but it is the key to an understanding of Eretz Yisrael and its culture. of the songs these Israeli singers have brought with them. 5 groups who've come on a volunteer basis under the aegis of the JDC and Azriel and another organization to sing during the high holidays throughout the Soviet Union. Everywhere the reception is warm and friendly. Singer Esti Katz feels this well upon arriving in Lvov. To the audience who've come to hear her sing, she says that only here, through this unmediated contact with local Jews, can she begin to understand her mother, a native of the Caucasus, and the many things she brought with her from Russia. To her mother in Israel, and to the audience in Lvov, Esti Katz dedicates her song, Hallelujah.
אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יגיע, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יבוא.
I was born for peace, sings the singer-songwriter Uzi Chitman before the Jews of the Ural Mountains in the city of Perm and Chelyabinsk. Uzi Chitman's father was deported from Poland to these parts during World War II and immigrated to Israel from here. Later, Perm became a place of exile for many prisoners of Zion. Now the son, Uzi, has returned to bring to the local Jews his own song of hope, I was born for peace. For singer Hanan Yovel, the encounter with the Soviet Union meant the first meeting of his life with his 90-year-old aunt, his father's sister, and her family.
Я хочу приветствовать здесь свою тетю Фаину, ее и членов семьи, которые находятся в зале.
בשיר הבא אני רוצה לספר להם קצת על המשפחה.
By means of a song written for his son Dor, Hanan seeks to tell his relatives about his own family.
הדור הבא ישן בחדר הסמוך, אני שומע את נשימתו. הדור הבא חולם בחדר הסמוך.
Dor in Hebrew means a generation. Hanan's song speaks of a meeting of generations, exactly like Hanan's unexpected encounter with his family in the Soviet Union.
אך מחשבה שנייה עוצרת, אני טעיתי, הוא יצדק. דור, דור, אל תשבור את חלומך כמוני, דור. דור, אל תשבור את עולמך, עיניים פקח, אך אל תשכח כל מה שאתה רוצה עכשיו. ידיים שלח, אך אל תבטח באלה הקוראים לשווא. אל תשתוק, עמוד מולי, אל תסמוך על הדור שלי.
הבטיחו לי גם רבים וגם לא נתנו, אני עונה תשובות שלא קיבלתי.
Singer Dorit Reuveni, who appeared in Dnipropetrovsk, Kiev, and Vinnytsia, sings to her Jewish audience of the things said to her parents years ago upon their arrival in Israel. So goes the song. Nobody promised me a rose garden.
לא הבטיחו לי גן ורדים ולא נתנו סיכוי, תמיד הקרב בלתי נמנע ויש שלום צפוי. לא הבטיחו לי גן ורדים.
Мне хотелось почаще этого было.
I wish more artists would come here more often
Артисты, певцы
to teach the local people Hebrew and Yiddish.
обучали
They should come more often so that we can learn.
идышу. Кто не знает.
There should be more such concerts.
Концерт.
Я
Oseh Shalom Mimromav, Maker of Peace on High, is the name of a song which graces almost every Jewish gathering in the world. The Jews of Dnipropetrovsk and Donetsk are honored to meet the writer of the song, Israeli composer Nurit Hirsch.
Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Maker of Peace on High is also part of the artistic program being prepared by the Kishinev Children's Choir for the climax of Operation Heart to Heart, the Bar Mitzvah and Bat Mitzvah ceremonies. Preparations for these ceremonies and explanations on the meaning of this passage to adult maturity are provided by the emissaries from Israel. The emissaries have also brought with them holiday kits, a special gift on behalf of the Joint Distribution Committee and Azriel that include a Hebrew-Russian dictionary, a kippah, and special bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah certificates.
Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
בין 13 למצוות, מזל טוב.
Operation Heart to Heart succeeded beyond all expectations. According to the emissaries' reports, the high holiday events and bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah ceremonies were attended by some 100,000 participants. The reverberations reached thousands more. I'm very happy that people have arrived from Israel and honored me by celebrating my bar mitzvah with me. I've grown a head taller. Helped by the emissaries from Israel, participants in the ceremonies prepared artistic programs for each and every event by themselves.
Can't begin to imagine the logistics, what it takes to bring this kind of an operation to a country. Millions, thousands, hundreds of thousands of miles away they traveled, and to bring all the ingredients that it took to make a holiday, to make a festival. This is just the beginning. We're going to go on from here until all the Jews in the Soviet Union are reached.
The JDC and Azriel will continue to reach out to every corner of the Soviet Union. The groups of singers who performed before about 20,000 people have gathered for a joint concert in Moscow to mark the end of Operation Heart to Heart. And so the chain continues, sing the Israeli artists. And the chain does continue in the fruitful cooperation between the Joint Distribution Committee and the operative body in Israel, Azriel. This cooperative effort has a long and successful background and a future of joint activities filled with promise.
It's hard to believe that you could see the excitement and feel the reaction of wanting to be Jewish again and back to Israel. It was a tremendous, tremendous experience. We have a great deal more to do.
Operation Heart to Heart in the Soviet Union began with great hope and comes to an end with the even greater hopes it has stirred. In this case, Hatikva is not just a national anthem, but the affirmation of a 2,000-year-old hope to see the Jews of the Soviet Union prepare the way. And they are on their way indeed.
שלום ולהתראות בעוד שנה בירושלים.